Hi guys! It has been a little over a week, I think, since I've talked to you guys. Hi. I have today 5 books to review. Guys, I'm like a reading maniac. No, it would be unfair for you to believe that I'm a reading maniac. I wish I had time to just read all the time, but a lot of the books I read are audio, which technically means I'm listening, right, instead of reading, but I drive a lot for my job, and so it helps. It helps that I do that because I can get through more books, and I love it. Love it, love it. The thing I don't love about that part is that I don't have the physical book here to show you guys as I'm reviewing it, but I have them pulled up on Goodreads so I can show you a picture, even though it'll show it backwards on my screen. I'll also include pictures either at the beginning or end of this video or something like that. Because I don't still know how to splice my video and insert a picture, and then I don't know how to do that. I can turn it off each time, and then if I have separate videos each time, I can put a picture in between video segments, if that makes sense. Anyway, I don't know which story to start with. And I should have looked this up a second ago. Sorry guys, I'm going to be pulling something up while I'm talking to you. So 5 books, some that, well, one I think that only got 2 stars. One that got 4 stars. Oh, 2 of them got 2 stars. 2 of them got 2 stars. One of them got 4 stars, which if you remember, let me tell you, I've told you this before, so if you're a returning viewer, thanks. You're going to have to listen to this spiel again. If this is the first time you've listened to me, I want you to know how my ratings work. So I use Goodreads.com, and it's a 5-star rating system. To me, 5 stars means it's the best book I have ever read, and 1 star means it's like the worst book I've ever read. So those are kind of extremes. So I use 2, 3, and 4. 3 means it's an average book. Didn't totally love it. Didn't hate it. It was a good book. I'd recommend it to someone, but it wasn't like real great. Like I didn't totally love it. A 2 is I had some real issues with this book. Sometimes it's the plot feels blah. Sometimes it's the characters just aren't likable, and it's just sometimes it's the language and the level of crudeness that's in the book that will ruin it for me. And I can handle, you know, I've read some books that have violence in them and adult content in them and things like that, and like Gone Girl. Some of you have read that, some of you haven't. It has some really explicit stuff in it. Some scenes that really don't need to be in there. Some language that doesn't need to be in there. But I still loved the book. It didn't ruin it for me. But there are some books that's like, it's not a good enough book to begin with, and then it throws in this crudeness, and it's just difficult for me to read. So those ones I give a 2, and then if I give it a 4, that means I loved it, and I'd highly recommend it. I'm not one that rereads books. I really have a hard time reading a book that I've already read, because then I'm like, oh yeah, I know this happens. Oh yeah, I know this happens. It like loses its spark to me once I've read it once. There are very few books I reread. Probably my 5 stars I would reread. Those are probably the ones I would read again. Anyway, so I have 5 books to review for you today. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to tell you, and I know the returning people have heard me say this, but I really wish books had ratings so that I knew, hey, is this something that my teenager can read? Is this something, you know, especially because I listen to books, is this something I can listen to if my kids are in the car? Generally, my rule of thumb is don't, because you never know when a word is going to fly out or something questionable is going to fly out in the story. So, but what I do like to do when I'm reviewing my books is tell you guys, hey, it has some language in it, or hey, there's going to be some adult themes, or hey, your teenager could read this book and I think it would be good. I'll kind of tell you that kind of stuff too. I really need to do something with the background back here. Maybe what I need to do is hang that picture up. I told you my cousin and his wife painted that for me years ago, like in 2001 they painted that for me, I think. Maybe it was after that, because I got married after that. I think. Yeah. Anyway, they painted that for me, and I've loved it ever since. So maybe it's huge. If I hang it up there, then I'll just have a purple polka dotted background. That'd be super cool. Maybe I'll do that. I'll look into it. Also, I have some exciting things coming on the horizon that maybe I'll be able to tell you about next week. I don't know. And I'm going to show you this. Silver Hand Putty is all it's called. Like, I don't even know how to tell you guys to find this because I don't know where I got it necessarily. It shipped. It came from China, so on the slow boat from China. So it's something I ordered like a month ago and just got. And it was just something I saw on Facebook or something and was like, oh, cool, I want some of that. Anyway, I'll have to show you because it's pretty cool. In a minute, I'll show you that. Okay, back to my books. I keep getting sidetracked, guys. All right, the first book I'm going to review is it's not a very long book. It is one that I read it by hand, meaning like a physical book. I read physical books, I listen to audiobooks, and then I read also books on my Kindle, when that's more convenient. So I always have about 3 books going at a time, at least. So this one is only about 62 pages, guys. But I'm going to count it as a book because look at that. It's a book. It's by Gillian Flynn. So she is the author of Gone Girl. She's the author of Sharp Edges, I think it's called. She's the author of a couple books. I've read all of her books. I'm pretty sure. This is the one I hadn't read yet. The Grown Up. Backwards, that kind of looks like a really funny word, actually. My brain almost can't make it say the Grown Up backwards. That's weird. Okay, anyway. This book has some explicit content in the beginning. A woman is describing her job that she does, and it's not a job that any of us would be proud to say that we have. So it has some explicit content just in her description of what she does for work. The unfortunate thing is that once you get past that, the rest of the book's pretty creepy good. But here's what it comes down to. Would I say, hey mom, you should read this? I don't know, because the idea of my mom reading some of the things in here is like, ah, to me. My mom reads, and I'm sure she's probably read more than what's in this book, but, anyway, Gillian Flynn, so she writes Gone Girl, and I don't know if you've seen that or not, but she writes books that are very, they have some twists to them, some real good twists to them, and they're very, some of them have kind of a creepy factor to them, some of them are really just crazy, but like in the true style of Gillian Flynn, this one fits. It's kind of the story of, kind of a ghost story in a way, that there's some ghosts, or that a woman believes her son is possessed, and has someone come over to try and help with that, like a psychic something or other trying to come and help with that. And it turns out it's a very creepy book, and it leaves on a total like cliffhanger type, not a cliffhanger like there's going to be a be continued, not like that, but it just kind of leaves you in that, wow, I wonder what really happened. It leaves you questioning what really went on in the book. Anyway, it's a short read, fast read, it's creepy, in a totally bizarre way. Like, it's a bizarre, creepy book. It was good to me, not because I loved it or anything like that, but to me, I only gave it 2 stars. But the more I think about it now that I've read it, the more it's like, oh, that just was weird. It makes you think, I think, is why I like it. But really, it didn't have a lot of depth to it. It had that explicit stuff at the beginning that it was like, so I gave it 2 stars. It's not something I'd really recommend anyone, but if you do want to read it, it has this weird creep factor to it that's kind of bizarre and will leave you thinking and whatever. Anyway, there's that one. I did that one first because I thought, let's get this one out of the way. Let's see. So most of my books, like I said, were audiobooks this time around, or Kindle books. Okay, so the other one that I gave a 2-star rating to, that's how we'll do this, guys. We'll do this by how I rated them. So my other 2-star rating was Postcards from the Edge. Have you guys heard of that book? It was actually originally written in 1987. And I will show you a picture of it and you can see who wrote it. And yes, it is that person that is showing who wrote it. I don't know if you can read it backwards though. Postcards from the Edge by Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher. And I thought, I found that as a book recommendation in Goodreads, and I thought, well, with her dying recently, I thought that would be cool to read. I didn't know she ever wrote books. I didn't know that. So that was new information. So I thought, okay, I will read it. So I read it. It was written in 1987, which I think contributes to a lot of the stuff in it. Like, I gave it 2 stars because it really, for me, was like, oh, so boring. But we've come a long way in our writing and in our imagination stuff and whatever since then. I mean, that was a long time ago, but it just doesn't hold up for me. It gets really good ratings on Goodreads. It has like an average of 3.61 stars on Goodreads, which is pretty good for a Goodreads book. Anywhere between like 3.5 and 4.3 is pretty good. Those are like the highest you see as an average on Goodreads. So it got good scores. It actually had a movie adaptation from it. So people loved it. They made it into this movie, but for me, I think it just was so wordy and not entertaining. It wasn't entertaining, but we have to keep in mind, so this isn't like a biography she wrote, but it was inspired by her own experiences with both mental illness and addiction. So in this book, this woman, Suzanne, in the beginning is going through rehab, and she writes some postcards to some people while she's there. And then she talks about kind of what goes on day to day in there. And that's the first like third of the book. And then she's released from her rehab center after 30 days. And the rest of the book is about her just trying to live life without her addiction and get through the daily grind of life and the things that happen in life day to day. So it's kind of just like a day to day. It's like, I don't know. It wasn't exciting. It didn't have twists and turns. It didn't have all these big characters that you loved. It really was it was more realistic. I don't know. Maybe I really wanted to like this book because of who the author is. I really wanted to like it, but I didn't like it, guys. But that's just me. That's just me because other people loved it. Let me look at my notes and see if there's anything else I wrote down about it that I want to tell you. I don't think so. I should put my notes like up here so I don't have to totally look down when I'm talking. I don't know, guys. I'm just trying to, whatever. I'm just winging it, right? Whatever. All right, whatever. Anyway, I really wanted to like it and I just didn't. But she's written other books too. I'd be interested to kind of know what those are about, but not interested enough to read them because this one to me was like, meh. If I read a book that's a 2-star book for me, then the author, I kind of am like, I'm done with that author. Unless I really, really hear rave things about that author, I'll try a different one. Like my sister really didn't like a book by an author that I really like, and she really needs to pick up another one by that author because she just must have read one that didn't rub her the right way, because it's Jodi Picoult is one of my favorite authors, and my sister read one of her books and didn't like it, so now she's like turned off from those books and she needs to read those books. So Charlie, pick up a book and read it. Read my favorite one, Leaving Time. That's my favorite book. Read it. Okay, so that's Postcards from the Edge. I showed you a picture, told you I gave it 2 stars. I think that's about it on that one. Not an exciting review because it was a 2-star, guys. I feel bad. She died. I don't want to talk bad about her book. Guys, should I take off my glasses? Now do I have that weird look to me, like when people, you're used to them wearing glasses and then they take their glasses off and they look kind of funny? Do I have that look? I hope not. But the glare and the shadows and everything were making me feel like I was a pirate or something. I don't know. Anyway. Let's see. What's the next one I want to talk about? So I read They Call Me Crazy, which is by Kelly Stone Gamble. And it says it's a Cass Adams #1, so it's part of a series. But for me, I read it knowing it was part of a series, and it felt like it was a standalone. Like, it didn't leave it on a note where it's like, oh man, I gotta read the next one, see what happens. It didn't leave it like that. So for me, I'm like, it could be a standalone book. I don't think I'll continue the series. I was thinking I gave that one 3 stars and I didn't. Wait a minute, let's go back. Did I give Postcards 3 stars? No. Guys, I gave a lot of books 2 stars this week. I thought I gave They Call Me Crazy more stars, but I didn't. And now I remember why. I know I didn't now that I'm thinking about it. You guys, that book drove me nuts. I listened to that book on audio, which can make all the difference. For one, you've got to have a good reader, like someone who has personality in their voice when they're reading, and I love when they like change their voice for different characters, so you really get a feel for who's talking and what's going on. Audiobooks can really make or break a book for you. And it's not that the author had a bad voice, it's nothing like that. But guys, the author couldn't pronounce words. Could not. It drove me bonkers. Okay, now, let me back up. People all around me mispronounce words all the time. Okay, mispronounce. I have to use that word lightly, right? Because just because I pronounce it a certain way doesn't mean someone else can't pronounce it some other way, right? My dad refers to the Himalaya mountains as the Himalayas. Guys, he's wrong. Okay, he's wrong. But anyone else, just because they pronounce something different doesn't make them wrong. But I work as a therapist, and so I'm a psychology major, and there's like psychotypal, like disorders or whatever for psychology, and he kept mispronouncing that word, and it really was bugging me. And again, mispronounced, right? It wasn't the way I like to hear it. But then the other thing is, and I don't have a book to compare it to in front of me, to read what the writing is supposed to say. But the guy's name in it is Roland, and they talk about he's a very chubby person, and so the reader says, so they nicknamed him Raleigh. Wouldn't it make better sense if they nicknamed him Rolly? Roland, Rolly, he's chubby. So every time they said Raleigh in the book, I was like, no, I'm sure it says Rolly. I'm sure it does. Anyway, I really would like to get my hands on that book just to see. But I looked it up at the library. My library doesn't carry that book. So I'd really like to get my hands on it and see how it's spelled. Because I'm betting you, I won't put any money on it, but I'm betting you it's spelled Rolly. And the 2 L's is making this reader say Raleigh instead of Rolly, but that is still Rolly. Anyway, that bugged me. Guys, I'm weird. I know. I'm actually in the middle of a book right now that had a grammatical error in it, and it stuck out like a sore thumb to me, and I told my sister about it, and I'm like, oh, it's driving me nuts. Because how does it get through all of its editing process and still have a misspelled word in there? I don't get that, and it really is bugging me. Anyway, back to They Call Me Crazy. The other thing, while I'm telling you my complaints about it, I haven't even told you the plot yet. Whatever, I'll tell you my complaints still. There was also a very big inconsistency in the book. There is a point where I believe they're at his, okay, so a woman shows up, let's say her name is Annie. Annie shows up at Bob's house and to confront him about something. And they're sitting there having this confrontation. And then Annie's daughter comes home, but they're not at Annie's house. They're at Bob's house. But now Annie's daughter comes home, and it says she knew Bob was there because she saw his truck in the driveway and knew that he was visiting. They were at Bob's house. He was not visiting Annie. Annie was visiting Bob. It had this huge inconsistency. Like, I listened to it like 3 times. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So that bugged me too. Books have to be consistent, guys. Anyway, They Call Me Crazy. It didn't have a real well-developed anything to it either. I'll tell you. So this woman, Cass, her real name's Cass. Actually, I think it was someone else in the book, not Cass, that was at the house. So I can't remember that character's name right now. But Cass, it's the whole town believes that Cass is crazy. That's why it's called They Call Me Crazy. They believe she's crazy. Her husband has told him she's on medication. All these things. People believe she hears voices, that she has all these paranoid, schizophrenia, all these different things. So the whole town believes she's crazy. Well, her husband goes missing. doesn't even really go missing. She kills him, guys, and that's not a spoiler. It tells you flat out in the first chapter, I think, that she kills him, and buries him. And then later she, like, finds that the water has washed away the dirt enough that his fingers are poking up from the ground, so she has to bury him somewhere else and gets caught. So it's kind of a take on how the whole town handles her, killing this man, and, other people who knew this man differently than the rest of the world knew this man think that maybe she was okay to kill this man. Kind of an interesting read, but it just felt like an empty plot to me. It wasn't a page turner by any means, but they don't have to be for me to like them. I don't know. I just don't know that the characters were well developed. The plot just felt empty. That's the only word I can think to describe it. It just didn't feel like there was real substance to it. I mean, in the end, you find out some different things than they led you to believe in the beginning, but it wasn't anything like, I don't know. So that's They Call Me Crazy by Kelly Stone Gamble. And guys, on any of these, with these reviews I do, if you have further questions about them or anything, you can definitely message me and I will answer your questions on them if you're like, oh, maybe I want to read that. I don't remember there being any adult themes really in that book. See, it didn't stick out to me a whole bunch, guys. I hardly remember details of it. I don't remember I think there was the F word probably like 3 times in the whole book. I don't know. It just didn't make a huge impact on me. They call me crazy. People call me crazy too, and I embrace it. Whatever. I am crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, that's those books. Okay, I'm going to take a break from book reviews for a minute. I want to show you this hand putty, and then I'll tell you about the 2 books. I gave one a 4 and one a 3, I think. So we're done with the lousy books that I didn't so much enjoy. This putty, first of all, this putty's crazy. You can't see it right now because it's not on my screen. I'm just getting it out of the container. And I know, like I was telling you, this is something, I saw a thing on Facebook or Instagram, a little demonstration of it. And it was like super cheap, so I just bought it, and it came from China, whatever. It took like a month to get here. It had all these different colors. I swear I ordered a different color. But like I said, I have no idea where I even ordered it from, so I can't even like go back and check. I have no idea. I'm kind of frivolous like that sometimes. But, okay, so this is putty. Just kind of like silly putty. Okay, it's putty. But the really cool thing about this putty, and I'm going to see if this will show up on camera very well, especially with me in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to see it as well. This is a magnet. It's a cube magnet. It came with the putty. Okay, see that? Watch. This putty is magnetic, you guys. And it's super cool. Whoop, whoop. It's super cool. Now, my favorite thing about this putty is, let me see how I can best show you guys this. Let's see. I'm going to set this magnet right on top. And then, I don't know, it's not picking up. It's like making it blurry. But can you guys see what's going on with this magnet? It's no longer sitting right on top of the putty. It's not. Look. The putty is growing up around it, guys. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus more on the putty than on me. I don't know. Look on this side. Oh, hi, I'm way below the camera. There we go. Look, guys, it's like, see it? It's sinking in. It's sinking. Oh, I wish it wasn't so blurry. Guys, look, it's totally... Okay, here's the best part. Here it goes. Ready? Can you see? It's disappearing on us. Guys, this putty, because that's such a strong magnet, and this putty is like metallic-y, it's like moving to get to that magnet. It's so attracted to that magnet. It's burying it alive in there, guys. Look, that's all that's left. That's it. Remember, I put it on top? Look, that's all that's left. Now, I'm going to put it... Okay, can you see? That's all that's left. Here in a second, there will be nothing else. I haven't squished it. I haven't done anything, guys. It is totally... doing this on its own, and it is so intriguing to me. It's so awesome. Anyway, isn't that a trip? Okay, I'm gonna put it in here. Oh, whoops, that's upside down. I'll put it in here. It's gone. Like, that's all you see of it, and within a few minutes it'll totally be gone. Not even a few minutes, probably 30 more seconds. It'll be gone. It's right. Oh, you can't even see it anymore. It's gone. Guys, it's the coolest putty. I don't know what I'll do with it. It's something at therapy, probably. Let kids play with it, because kids like to play with putty and stuff anyway when they're talking. So that's just kind of a cool thing I can demonstrate for them, but then we can play with it while they're talking. Oh, sorry. Today I went and saw a cute little girl. She's 7. And I brought my bin of toys. I have a bunch of bins of toys that I'll just bring, just little toys. And today she played with princess dolls. I had princess dolls that are like this big, and then Lalaloopsies that are little. And so she had each of the princesses adopt a Lalaloopsy, because this girl is going through the adoption process right now, and that's what she wanted to process in therapy today and talk about. And we talked about how, hey, just because the Lalaloopsy doesn't look like the princess doesn't mean that it's not family. They can adopt them, you know, because anyway, it made for an interesting conversation, but that's what was on her mind today. It's interesting how things that children are processing and what's on their mind comes out in their play. I love it. Anyway, so that was kind of fun. We did princess adoptions today, and then they all got their family photos done on my phone. We did family photo time of all of each princess with its adopted children, and some of them adopted trolls too, and some of them adopted pets while they were at it. So it was great. It was a great time. All right, guys, the next book. Oh, guys, I didn't even show you They Call Me Crazy, did I? I don't think so. Here it is. That's They Call Me Crazy by Kelly Stone Gamble. They Call Me Crazy. Okay, let's go to our next book, which was another one I listened to. And I just finished it today, actually. Whoops, I pulled up something I didn't want to pull up. It's by Jojo Moyes. Have you guys read anything by Jojo Moyes? She wrote a book that I read for book club a year ago, I think, or maybe more than that, Me Before You, and it was a really good book. It was an easy read. I want to say it was a light read. No, it wasn't. It had some themes to it that were very in-depth and I loved it. It was a really good read. This one, Paris for One, and Other Stories. So the way she writes is a very, almost I want to say cleansing way of writing. It's very airy and it was an easy read, and it felt like a light read. It was, so Paris for One is basically this woman named Nell, who goes to Paris, and it kind of, it's Paris for One and Other Stories. So all the stories in this book are kind of about women in different types of relationships and the different things that go on. So this one is a woman who goes to Paris. Her and her boyfriend plan a trip to Paris, and then he ends up not being able to come in the beginning. And just kind of how she handles it and what she does. So that's really interesting. Hang on just a minute. Anyway, so in Paris for One, that's kind of what happens. I mean, she goes to Paris. She's one that doesn't go on adventures very often, and her boyfriend kind of, I guess she's convinced to go on this thing with her boyfriend. That's what she explains to you. So, pretty light read. It's a short story. Again, I listened to it. I don't know how many pages that part of the story is, because the whole book is like 272 pages or something, but there's other stories in there also. That's the main story. It's considered a novella. I don't know what defines a novella. Novella. I'll just keep saying that to you, apparently. But then the other short stories in there, there's like, I want to say 8 other stories in there. 8 or 9. And they're just quick, easy, fast reads, like 10-minute reads each one. Maybe a little more, but they're kind of funny too. They're all centered around women and their relationships. So, or a type of relationship they have in their life at that point. One of them is about a woman who, let me look at my notes. Oh, one of them, first of all, is about this famous man who something comes up on Twitter. Some woman reports on Twitter that he is not the man you think he is. He is not a family man. He cheated and was with me a few years ago, and he is a horrible man, and put all this stuff out there. Well, the man denies it, and his staff, or his, what are they called? His agent, and everybody's like, what? This is getting leaked out. And he's like, it isn't true, it isn't true. And so one of his staff decides to look into it, does some research, talks to the person on Twitter and says, how can we believe you? And she gives him reason to believe him. And so then the guy's like she tells him a birthmark that he has on his bum or something. And anyway, this staff member finds out that it's really this man's wife that's posting these things because she wants him to get more ratings. Like, she's doing it for publicity's sake and wants him to get more ratings. So they the staff member and the wife kind of talk, and they're like, okay, now we're going to bury this fake story and we'll tell him about it later. And in the meantime, we'll rack in all this good publicity, because all this good publicity is coming in. People are calling in. People are wanting to write stories on him all of a sudden. And so they're like, oh, that was a really good plan. Now we'll just lay it to rest and no one will be any the wiser. So, but then the staff member goes back to work and finds out that the man is so discouraged that this has come out to the public that he goes public with a real affair he was having. Ah! Anyway, it's a really cute book. Like, it's funny. Cute book, cute story. That one's a funny one. There's another one where a lady's like helping rob a bank. She's in the bank when it's being robbed, and she ends up in like making friends with one of the robbers or something. One is a lady found a cell phone, and some man keeps texting the cell phone owner, and so this woman pretends she's the cell phone owner and gets real caught up in the messages and messaging him back, and then you'll have to read what happens there, but it's funny. That one's called like 13 Days with John C. John C's the guy that's texting the phone, and she has it for 13 days or something. Anyway, it has a bunch of really cute stories. They're all easy read, light read, a palate cleanser is how I feel her books are, and I love that. That's not by any means an insult. I read a lot of heavy books sometimes, like heavy topics. I read a lot of like mysteries and scary things and intense. So for those ones with the light read being a palate cleanser, I loved it. It was just this nice, easy breezy, a good story. It was a good book. It was a good book. You should read it. Adult themes, I don't think were really in there. I don't remember much that was. It was a pretty good book. Yeah, so that one's by Jojo Moyes. And I'd recommend that one to you guys. I gave it 3 stars. Sometimes my rating system confuses me. Why? Well, because 3 stars, because 4 stars, it wasn't totally phenomenal. I love it, love it, love it. But it was a good book. It was a good book. It wasn't totally my favorite, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it was in the middle, right? 3 stars. So you should read that one. If you're looking for a light read, something fast and easy to read. Plus, it's, the main novella and then other stories with it. So it's something you can read and feel accomplished. You've read a story and then come back to it. Hang on. Guys. Apparently when I say, I'm doing a video, don't bug me, what that means is, if you find some couches on Facebook that you want to get, go ahead and come in and tell me. Oh my gosh. Guys. Anyway, light read. And so you can kind of put it down feeling accomplished that you've read, a story, and then it's got other cute little stories, and it's something easy, fast. You pick it up, you can read a cute short story and then go on with your day, and it just kind of is this uplifting, funny little chuckle you can get out of it. So yeah, pick that one up. Paris for One by Jojo Moyes. Paris for One and Other Stories. So apparently it was published at first just as Paris for One. So there is a book out there that you can get that's just Paris for One. But then the more recent publication of it is Paris for One and Other Stories. So don't get confused if you're looking for one, don't accidentally get the other. And then the last one I'll tell you about is the one I gave 4 stars to, and it's one that I actually read in my hand. How to Be Lost by Amanda Eyre Ward. I've read a book of hers before. I talked about it last video. I didn't review it last video. I just mentioned it last video that I had read a book of hers before. And now I can't think of what it was called. Anyway, whatever. This book I really enjoyed. Yeah, so let's see. I took notes on what I wanted to tell you. So let me look. Okay, so the basic synopsis of this is that there's 3 sisters growing up, and one of them, when she's 5 years old, goes missing one day. And it kind of talks about the beginning of the book talks about the hard times that was for the sisters growing up and how they kind of had to deal with life after that happened. And how mom and dad dealt with life. And then at one point in the book, mom is dying. Or mom is... She isn't... Well, okay. At one point in the book, the main character, Caroline, is visiting her mom. And her mom is like, oh my gosh, I found a picture of your sister in a magazine. And it makes it very apparent that the mom always finds pictures or has sightings of the missing sister. And this is years later. So the girl would be like 20, 25, something like that. I can't remember. But makes it very apparent that this mom always has sightings and is always obsessively looking for this little girl still. Which, of course, if I was the mom, I'd still be looking for my little girl too. Because they never found her body. They never found her. They don't have any clues, nothing. So, but then Caroline's other sister, is ready to move on and is ready to be like, look, let's close this chapter of our lives and move on. We can't keep holding on and waiting for this little girl to return home. She's not going to come home. If she happens to still be alive, 99% chance she's died. If she happens to still be alive, if she wanted to find us, she would. She's an adult. So the one sister's trying to talk reason into Caroline. Caroline's kind of caught between mom and daughter, or sister. Mom ends up dying. So Caroline decides to take this magazine picture, which she's like, yeah, I could see how that could be her grown up. I can see some family resemblance. Maybe that is her. And so she up and goes out of state on an adventure to find this girl in the magazine. And so it kind of takes you on her adventure through that and the people she finds. And along the way, she finds a bunch of people that are kind of living on the streets and things that are saying, you know, I don't think your sister wants to be found, because if she wants to be found, you'd know where she is. She's an adult. They're kind of reiterating the same thing sister said. So, but this girl's stubborn. Caroline is stubborn. She's not about to give up yet. Anyway, she ends up finding this girl, and you'll have to read it to see what happens, how it all plays out. But it's really well written. I really liked the plot. I liked the idea of the plot, and then I think the plot was well written out. Sometimes people have a really good idea for a story, but then they don't write it real great. And so then it's a letdown. But this one, I felt like they took a good plot line, and went with it. And I really enjoyed it. The book alternates between some characters. And kind of as you get to know more characters in the book, it alternates between more characters. And so you kind of get a full spectrum of the story and what's going on. There is someone writing letters in here that you're reading too along the way, and you don't know really who that is or what they have to do with the story yet until towards the end. You find out how they're tied into the story. Anyway, it's a really good book. I really liked it. It was an easy read. I read it pretty quickly. I mean, obviously, because I've done 5 books in like 8 days, but so it obviously was a pretty quick read. But yeah, guys, I gave it 4 stars. I recommend it. I don't recall. I need to take better notes on if there's bad words or stuff. I don't recall anything like that in here. I remember it being pretty easygoing. It makes some kind of funny innuendos, I think, in a couple places, but nothing graphic, nothing. The F word is in there a couple times. If that doesn't bother you, then that doesn't bother you. I have some friends who are like, oh, if it's someone in a different country that uses that word, it's less abrasive to me. Or some people are like, you know what, I can handle it a handful of times, but if it's all the time, that's ridiculous. And I'm kind of like that. I can handle it a couple times, but when it just gets like, hello, Don't you know any more words than that? Then I'm kind of like, oh my gosh. Anyway, this one just has a handful of F words. Do you remember I talked last week about that book that was offensive to me? It had some language in it that it was offensive. It wasn't the F word, and I'm not going to tell you what it... There are some words out there that people will use like they're normal everyday words, and they're really bothersome to me, but it's a word that's just not okay. Anyway, that book is still bothering me, that it had that kind of a offensive talk to it. I don't know. That really bothered me. And the sad thing is, that author, my mom reads that author and likes most of those books. And I've heard good things about other books by that author. But because of that part of that book, it kind of turns me off to any other books by that author. I'm kind of like, meh, I can do without that. You know, like, and that's a bummer. But it's not like I don't have a million other books I need to read anyway. I have like, my to-read list is now like 1,400 books long. So yeah, but this book, you guys, How to Be Lost, really was a good one. My dad saw this title and he's like, why would you want to be lost? Why are you going to read about that? Anyway, it talks about, and How to Be Lost, I think, ties into the people she finds along her search who are kind of saying, you know what, if you want to be lost to the world, this is how you do it. You don't need to be found. If you don't want to be found, you don't want to be found. And there are ways to stay hidden from reality. And anyway, really good book. Amanda Eyre Ward. Guys, what is that? Oh, The Same Sky, I think is the other book I read, and it was really good. It was one I had read for a book club that was by this author, is what I'm talking about right now, because my thoughts are all discombobulated. Like, I think you guys are following what I'm saying, and I only say half of what's going on in my brain, so how does it make sense to you? The Same Sky, or Beneath the Same Sky, or maybe it's just The Same Sky, is a really good book too. So this is an author I would recommend. I've read 2 of hers, and 2 for 2 are good. So I would recommend this author to you guys. So those are the books I've read, guys. That's a lot of books. So we talked about The Grown Up, which was kind of a psycho creepy weird one. We talked about Postcards from the Edge, which was by Carrie Fisher, which I wasn't impressed by, and I wish I was, but I just wasn't. They Call Me Crazy by Kelly Stone Gamble. Had some interesting, bothersome things in it, inconsistencies and misread words. But that isn't what broke it for me, guys. That's not, I gave it 2 stars, and it's not because, maybe the inconsistency had a little bit to do with that, because that bugs me. Like, that doesn't, can you imagine you're watching a movie? What would happen if you said so-and-so was at, Julie was at Bob's house, and we're having this scene at Bob's house, then all of a sudden, something skids out, and suddenly they're at Susie's house? That doesn't make any sense. It made no sense. Anyway, it wouldn't fly in a movie, so it's not going to fly in a book for me. But that's not all that made it the 2 ratings. It just felt empty to me. It didn't feel like there was real substance to it. So, and then the Paris for One Another stories by Jojo Moyes. That one's a good read. Get that one. It's a light read. It's an easy read. It's enjoyable. And then How to Be Lost by Amanda Eyre Ward. That's the one that I just talked about. And I would recommend that one also. That's a good author. Like I said, 2 for 2 books by that author I've really enjoyed. Just to kind of tell you what I'm reading coming up. I'm right now in the middle of The Last Anniversary by Liane Moriarty. Liane Moriarty writes a lot of good books. You may have heard of The Husband's Secret or Big Little Lies. Those were her big books lately that she's done. Oh, she also has a brand newer one. Brand newer. Truly Madly Deadly, that I haven't read yet, and I need to read it. But I've been reading her other books, which I really like. She has like The Hypnotist Love Story, which was really good. What's the other ones I read? I don't know, but the one I'm reading right now on my Kindle is called The Last Anniversary, and it's by Liane Moriarty. I'm about a third of the way through it. I like the storyline. I like the idea of the book. I just don't know if I'm really in love with the book yet, and maybe it'll get better as I go. I don't know. But yeah, so far it's a decent book, and the storyline is really a good one. So we'll see how that goes. The next one I'm reading or listening to is called, come on, why don't I know this? On Mystic Lake by Kristen Hanna. She's an author that I love. I've read a few books that she's written. She wrote, guys, what is my problem? I'll just pull it up. That'll save us maybe the time and save my brain from totally malfunctioning. I mean, it's already malfunctioned, but just pretend you know what I'm talking about. She wrote The Nightingale, which I read at the end of last year, and it was such a good book about World War II. It was so good and so well written. I loved it. Loved it. And I've read some other books by her too. Okay, hang on. I'm going to pull it up so I can give you a more Nightingale. What is that other book I read? Or maybe I've read more than one other book of hers, and I really liked it. Oh, I've read Magic Hour, which I loved. That was a 4-star that I read. The Nightingale, I gave 5 stars, guys. So you need to read The Nightingale. I gave it 5 stars. That means that's significant, guys. And then she has one called True Colors that I've read too. So this one I'm reading next is On Mystic Lake. It was published in 2004. So that's the next one I'll be listening to. And the next one I'm going to read, read. I showed you this one last week and I still haven't started it. I Let You Go. It looks really good. I'm really excited about it, but I'm also like, oh, it just seems so in-depth. I don't know. I think I've needed some light reads to kind of cleanse my reading palette, right? So I plan on having this one read this week. And I see that whole thing just moved. And The Magician's Elephant by Yoko Tanaka. Nope, sorry, it's illustrated by Yoko Tanaka. How you guys can see that right there that I didn't even read. By Kate DiCamillo. It's illustrated, so it has some pictures throughout. Like, it's not like a little kid's book that's illustrated every page, but it has some illustrations. Because it is for, it says National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. It has this award sticker here or something. Anyway, it's kind of a YA read, I think. Young adult read, maybe. Or maybe a teenager read. I don't know. But I'm going to read it because it sounds good. I'm going to read you the back of it. When a fortune teller's tent appears in the market square of the city of Baltese, orphan Peter Augustus Duchesne knows the questions that he needs to ask. Does his sister still live? And if so, how can he find her? The fortune teller's mysterious answer is an elephant. An elephant will lead him there. This sets him off on a chain of events so remarkable, so impossible, that Peter can hardly dare to believe it. But it is, all of it, true. I just thought that sounded really good. And that's kind of going to be a light read, I think, and a good one. So, The Magician's Elephant, I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh, and then I've got to read The Last Anniversary, Leanne Moriarty, that's the one I'm partway through, and then the Kristen Hanna one, On Mystic Lake, I think is what I said it was. I think that's all for today, guys. I wish I had more cool things to show you, but I don't. So there you go. Those are your book reviews for this week. I do have, so we just had my January book club, which was Calling Me Home. Remember, I talked about that one on the last video, I think. Yeah, so February's book club book is The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. So if I get those other ones done, I will start this one. But book club isn't until the second Thursday in February, so I have plenty of time. But I have it here, so it's tempting me. But I also have like 45 other books just sitting around that are tempting me also, that I'm like, oh man, maybe I just need to read this. Oh, I need to read this. Oh, such a hard life for a book hoarder, guys. Such a hard life. All right. You guys have a good day. If you have comments or questions, you can leave them below, or you can send me a message on Instagram, which is shoes.that.sparkle. Or, oh, I needed to tell you guys, on audiobooks, I went on and found out, let me pull it up and make sure now. So I was telling you guys to just find me under Stephanie Peterson on there, but I guess I had a username. I didn't know that. Or I didn't remember that, or whatever you want to say. But, so I made my username, I think Shoesthatsparkle is my username. And why can't I find it? I'll put it in the notes under the video if you click on the little thing to extend the the notes that I write under there, the description. I'll put it in there for sure. I'll make sure what it is. I'm not going to make you guys wait while I sit here and look it up. Yeah, so you can find me on Goodreads under Shoesthatsparkle. You can find me on Instagram, shoes.that.sparkle. I even have a Facebook page, Plum Shoesthatsparkle, if you want to find me on there. Anyway, I think that's all. And I'll let you guys go. And I will see you in about a week if I can finish some books that are worth reviewing. I mean, I will review all of them, whether they're worth it or not. So, see you next week. Thanks for watching.
1, 2, 3.